Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick, and in today's video I'm going to talk about a topic that I find super interesting, and that is lineage. When you hear crested gecko breeders or just people who have crested geckos in general talking about lineage, you want to know what it is. So what lineage is take Benny here for example. Benny is a gecko that I know her lineage. I know that she came from, I know the breeder she came from, and I have pictures or can get pictures of her parents. So therefore I now will have lineage of her, and I think with her she's my only one that I could probably get grandparent photos as well. I'm actually really not sure on that, but when you hear people talk about lineage, all lineage means is that you can trace the geckos. Typically you know what their parents look like, and you know what their parents look like, so their grandparents look like. It's usually about as far back as I've seen people really care to go. Now, there's definitely some breeders out there who, I mean, they have generations upon generation upon generations because they've been doing this for so long. So, you can get more than that, but typically the most that I've seen is parents and grandparents. The next thing that I want to talk about with lineage is kind of, does it matter? So, the answer to that is it gets kind of hairy, because does it matter to you? So this is something where you need to ask yourself, if I buy this gecko, do I care to know what its parents look like? And then honestly ask yourself, why do you care? If you plan on breeding one day and you want to know lineage because you might want to know what you could potentially produce from this gecko, right? Because if this, let's say you want to buy this gecko and its dad looks super good and the mom looks super good, but the baby at the moment looks eh. It's kind of important to know what the parents look like if you're going to be paying $200, $300 for this gecko potentially. But then again, just because you buy a gecko that you have lineage on, it doesn't mean it's going to look like the parents, and typically it won't. And it's nice to know that it could potentially carry those genetics, right? There's definitely something to be said about that, but that should really only matter if you're breeding and if you really care about certain lines or certain things like that. Whenever you look at lineage and you're deciding if it matters to you, you kind of need to say, okay, am I breeding? Okay, let's say the answer to that is yes, you want to breed one day. And then let's say you're trying to work on something specific, like maybe something like an extreme Harlequin, right? Like, let's just be simple. If you have an extreme Harlequin gecko and you're pairing to another extreme Harlequin gecko, so lineage in that instance isn't really going to matter because you're going to produce a lot of extreme Harlequin babies. It's usually going to look like the parents, and that's something that I've really found with a lot of my geckos, is typically whenever I breed them, the baby more often than not comes out looking like the mom or the dad. And like I said, I have some geckos that I can trace back their lineage, and it's great. I have other geckos that I have no clue what their lineage looks like, and I don't really care because I know what their babies are going to produce. Now there's something to be said about having lineage in the other direction. If you know what babies look like, that actually could add value to a gecko. Because if if a parent produces just awesome quality geckos, then the value of that parent's more. Like I said, I don't really care about lineage necessarily. I care more that I'm getting a healthy gecko, and that I can trust that this gecko is going to grow up to be, you know, something super pretty like Benny is here. So while I say that I don't care about it, I kind of do, only because I am breeding and I am wanting to breed quality geckos. Typically though, we're kind of at a point where it seems like there's a lot of really good breeders out there, and there's a lot of breeders that practice like super high standards and things like that. I think a lot of the times the issue comes with people wanting to breed like pet store geckos and things like that, which you know nothing about. And I think it's actually more important that you don't know anything about them as far as when they were born, how they were raised, who raised them. You know, those things like that are a lot more important than what did mom and dad look like. So I definitely see both sides of it. Like I said, I don't really care for lineage, only because I buy from quality breeders and I buy from people who I know. I've seen pictures of the parents of the gecko I'm buying and things like that. So when it comes to that, I'm not too worried about it. At the end of the day, for me, it's more important that I trust in a breeder than I put stock into what Benny's parents looked like. Because, like I said, parents don't guarantee anything. They're not going to look like them, and just because you have a super awesome grandpa doesn't mean that the baby's going to look like grandpa. That's pretty rare. That'd be hard to hit. It'd be cool, but it'd be hard to hit. So I think it's more important to buy from quality breeders and trusted breeders. And for people who just think that this can be like a money grab and you can make tons of money breeding geckos, and like, oh man, I'm just gonna produce tons of geckos and sell them. That's whenever you get into trouble, when you're buying a super cheap gecko that you don't know much about, or you don't know what the breeder's about, and you don't know what their ethics are and things like that. So that's where I kind of fall on the lineage spectrum. Is I don't really care about the lineage, I care more about who I'm buying from. And if that person has a good name in the hobby and they have a trusted name, and I've seen what they do, I've seen other babies that they've produced, then I'm cool with it. I don't care to know what the parents look like. But now typically if you're buying from a good breeder and you ask for lineage, they can give you lineage. Like on all my geckos that I sell, if you ask for lineage, I'll give you lineage. I don't like to use lineage as a selling point, because I feel that it's unfair, because I can't predict what that gecko is going to look like. And if you buy a gecko thinking that it's going to look like one of my top males, it's probably not the case. And honestly too, a big part of it is I'm probably holding back some of the best ones, because that's what breeders typically do, it seems like. I'm just holding back my favorites. And typically my favorites might be what, like if I hatch a baby that's as red as Benny is, I'm probably gonna hang on to it for a while. And if there's one that comes out less red, there's nothing wrong with that gecko. It still holds the same, genetic structure and things like that, but I'm gonna keep some of my favorite stuff. So don't buy a gecko just because you have lineage, but then also don't buy a gecko, just don't say, oh well, lineage is stupid, I don't need it. Buy from a trusted breeder, buy from somebody who has good reviews on Morph Market, has good reviews on their Facebook page, hasn't scammed anybody or done anything like that, because that happens a ton. Be careful. If you're buying a gecko online, guys, use PayPal. Be smart. Use PayPal. You should have a business set up if you're a breeder, and you should have a business account and things like that, because it makes it look more legit. So if you're buying through legitimate sites, then lineage really doesn't matter, because the people that are taking all these steps are typically the ones that care the most and aren't going to screw you over with a bad quality gecko or a bad genetic gecko or scam you out of money. So kind of things like that is just, that's kind of to wrap up lineage. It is important, but it's more important who you buy from, because if you buy from quality people, you're going to get quality geckos. That's just the way it is. Alright guys, well that's the video on lineage. I hope you liked it. I know it was kind of rambly there for a little bit, but I think that that's okay, because it's kind of it's a strange topic to talk about, because I feel so like I fall right in the middle on it, because like I said, you watch the video, so you know how I feel about it. But anyway, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Like 80% or 84% of you guys are still not subscribed, but you watch my videos, so you might as well subscribe, support the channel a little bit. And until next time, guys, stay safe and stay positive.